Hey you guys, this is Josh
And Carolyn.
with Homesteading Family, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pantry Chat Food for Thought.
Yeah, today we're answering your questions.
It's a Q&A kind of day.
It is.
So before we dive into that though, what's going on?
Yeah, well, you guys can probably hear it in my voice. I've been struggling with a little bit of cold or something here. And so just been getting through that. And I know a lot of people right now, their lives are really turned upside down.
Oh man.
It is a really challenging season for a lot of people, but I gotta say for us, our life just kind of keeps going on. We're already really home-centered. We homeschool, we do business from home, we grow most of our food, we have most of our food stores here already in the home. And so we actually haven't felt as big of an impact from this really difficult circumstance. Most people,
particularly in daily life, I can say that we have been pretty well prepared.
Yeah.
We're in Idaho, and Idaho is experiencing some closures, though we don't even technically have any cases in our county yet.
Right.
But they're doing a lot of the low-level measures.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, it is somewhat business as usual for us, though. The news is so pervasive, and we're talking to a lot of people, and California, Texas. We have a friend in New York, and so really getting a lot of input on what's going on, and realizing a lot of you are very, very impacted by this.
Absolutely. Well, and I think we even realize how, even though our daily routine isn't thrown off very much, it actually is impacting all of us just because of all this news and the stress.
And that's what I was getting at. We're well prepared. We're well prepared to deal with things being out of sync, and our stores are good. We had our seeds ordered. We've done a lot of those things that are working well for us, but it's still very impacting emotionally and relationally, dealing with people and just watching what's happening.
Yeah. It is. And I think, right off, one thing that I really want to share with you guys, if you are already doing a lot of homesteading things or you're hoping to do some more this year, it might be a good time to look at getting the supplies you need to do those things. I know right now canning supplies are running out all over the place.
Yes.
Meat chickens, we just ordered our meat chickens for the year.
Running low.
They are running low.
Seeds.
Yeah.
Seeds are
getting harder
low
to find. So this is a really good time, if you haven't stocked up on some of those things, to go ahead and do that for the year.
And we'll probably get into this a little bit in some of the questions we're going to answer. It's a good time to be taking steps. It's not a good time to panic, though, and feel like, oh, I can't get seeds, I can't get this, I can't do it all, or to try to do it all.
Right.
Just make a plan.
Yep.
And start taking steps. Do the best you can. You might have to dig a little harder to find seeds. You might have to work with the seeds you can get.
Right.
There's some challenges here, but there are still steps that you can be taking. But stay calm and methodical.
And I think if you're not going to use something, don't go out and buy a bunch of it, right? Because there are a lot of people who are going to use it. We don't want to get into that hoarding scenario.
Well, and I think we're going to address that somewhere in here. And you want to be prepared. So to me, I fully encourage you to go be finding the things that you need to be prepared. That's different than hoarding and just buying everything up of something that you can find, either because you're buying in fear and you're going to hoard it, or you're trying to profit off of it.
Yeah.
And either of those two, let's not be doing that.
No.
Let's take care of our needs. Let's be thoughtful for the future, but leave things for other people as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really good.
So you had a couple something to share?
Well, you guys, we have some products that we really recommend to you guys. We've recommended over the last few months, and it's because they're products that we love in the house. And I thought this would be a really good time to bring a few of those out because they're really, really helpful to this time in particular in history.
Yeah.
One of those are some mixes from Farmhouse Teas. If you guys know, we love supporting Farmhouse Teas. They're a great family-run company.
Drinking their chai.
We're drinking
here.
some teas right here.
Yep.
This one is a golden turmeric spice. This is a great tea for either if you're sick or if you want to keep your immune system strong. and it tastes great. It's a really good tea. I really like this.
Well, and people are looking for options. I mean, we're teaching you over the course of time about having an herb garden that you can harvest your own from and do a lot of things on your own. But right now, all of a sudden, a lot of people are going, wow, I want some natural solutions.
Right.
And, maybe you're going to work on that herb garden this year. But in the meantime, there are some great resources out there to help you get some of those, besides just good drinking teas, some natural solutions.
Yeah, and it's a great time to support some small family businesses too right now, because we know that this time is going to be hard on everybody. Another one that they just came out with, I'm really excited about this, is their fire cider mix. If you guys know, fire cider is a vinegar tincture or herbal vinegar that was designed to be an herbal antibiotic from things that you can find generally in your grocery store. And right now there are things that are getting a little bit hard to find in the grocery stores. So this is great because they have all the ingredients dried and put into one single mix. It makes it really easy. All you need to do is steep this in vinegar. And traditionally you would steep this for about 2 to 6 weeks in vinegar, but you can do it fast. You can do it within 24 to 48 hours if you add heat to the circumstance. So you can get this in vinegar, put it on warm on a crock pot filled with water, not low, but warm. You don't really want to boil this. And leave it like that for about 48 hours, and you can very quickly have a really good herbal antibiotic to help with those secondary infections. And we know that with this sickness that's going around, that it's the secondary bacterial infections that become very dangerous to people. So this is a really good thing to have on hand.
Yeah, and there'll be a link for you down below to where you can get to these in all of their teas. They've got, besides just some of the medicinal teas, they've just got really some great, good quality organic teas that we really love.
Now, another one that we really like in the house, and this is a company from a good friend of mine, Renee over at Made on Hard Lotions, is the Bee Silk Bar. And right now, if you guys are washing your hands a lot, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They're getting dry. Either hand sanitizer or hand washing, this much makes your hands really dry, and this really, really helps with it because it has the beeswax in it too to help hold in that moisture. So it's not just a moisturizing agent, but it helps hold it in. So this is a really, really good thing. So I thought you guys could find these really helpful in this season.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, and I think you have one.
Yeah. So you guys know that we love Clyde's Garden Planner. A lot of you are thinking about planting your garden, and if you're just getting started, this is an excellent resource. And Clyde let me know that you guys have actually been buying a few of those, but you're not putting in the coupon code that's getting you the discount.
You gotta get your discount.
And so whether you're looking for these, getting them for a friend, whatever it is where you're at in your garden journey, if you haven't gotten one yet, we'll leave you a link below, and you can get a Homesteading Family branded Clyde's Garden Planner and a 10% discount. But you've got to enter Homesteading Family in the promo code, I think, or coupon code. I don't remember exactly.
We'll put the details below in the description.
Right, but make sure you enter that so you can get the discount and the Homesteading Family version. And these planners are just great. I'll be talking about them in a seed starting video again, but super, super helpful. And I know a lot of you are thinking about either starting a garden for the first time or picking it back up in this season. And this is just a great, inexpensive tool to help you know. We get questions on all the time about how to plant and when to plant. This answers those for you. We've also got a video on how to use this as well that we'll link to below.
Right. So this is a great time, you guys, to support these family businesses and small businesses. So that's why we're sharing them. We think that they'll be helpful for you. We love these products. We use them in our home.
Absolutely.
And it would be a great time to help support these small businesses.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Well, what are you up to?
Planting seeds,
Yep.
Working on getting the garden going, and we are on kind of the final leg of getting mom and dad's wrapped up, and we just found out they're going to come up a little earlier than anticipated, which is exciting. We're glad to see them get out of California right now, and get up here, and so we're just on a crunch to get that done, so that's taking a lot of extra time.
A lot of the time,
and waiting for the winter weather to stop.
Oh my gosh,
we're
it's snowing
getting
today.
winter again here in early April.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's a little depressing feeling, honestly, with everything else going on,
right.
to then have the beautiful sunny skies cloud over and snow start coming out of it.
But that's life. You never know what a day is going to bring.
That's
and
right.
we know the sun will shine. Even here in North Idaho, it just comes a little later sometimes than some of our southern counterparts. Okay, well, we better get on with Q&A.
With the Q&A,
We've got
all
quite
right.
a few questions here. I don't know
Sounds
how many
good.
we'll get to, but we'll start to roll with it. And we'll start here with Steph J. Commenting on, does homesteading save money? And she's asking, do you or have you ever butchered ducks? Our experience is that it's not easy, but we need to cull and are looking for advice and even good recipes for cooking duck.
Ooh.
And yes, we have and we do butcher ducks. And yes, they're not as easy as chickens. We don't do a lot of them, so I tend to just kill them and defeather them without dunking. Similar to where if you were hunting, that's what most guys hunting do. They're not going to go through that process.
Right.
Some you can dunk them. It's a little harder because they're made to shed water, so the water doesn't penetrate as easily as it does on chickens. So you've got to do it longer.
Make sure you put a little bit of soap in that water if you're doing ducks, because that helps it get past the oil. You know, a little dish soap.
Yeah. And you can be a little tricky to go long enough and not overdo the skin. And we certainly haven't done so much of them that we've just got that process down. So if you're just culling a few, honestly, just kill them and defeather them by hand. It's a little more work.
Or, and this is what I've done when I've had to do it without your help, I just skin them.
Yeah, and that definitely works. Somebody else was just asking me about this and recommended that, but his wife said, as you will often say, but I want all the fat in the skin. That's a good part of the flavor.
Good flavor, right.
And so if you really want to be quick,
right,
you can just skin them out. But if you're just doing a few, just hand feather them. It's not that bad. And if you're going to do a lot, then yes, you would want to get set up with a dunking system, and you're just going to have to do some trial and error to get that down, because it's a little trickier than just doing chickens.
Now, I do have a recommendation, especially if you're working with older ducks, and maybe this isn't quite a recipe, but try making jerky. Beef jerky, meat jerky, duck jerky.
Duck jerky, yeah.
From the duck breasts. It is actually incredibly good, very tasty. Our whole family loves it. Now, I've done that a lot with the Muscovy ducks, which are a lot darker meat.
Yep.
But I've heard that it's really good with your average lighter meated ducks too.
Absolutely. And a good book, if you want some good recipes we love, is, if I'm saying this right, Duck, Duck, Goose, by Hank Shaw. If you want some recipes for duck and figuring out what to do and have some fun, that is an excellent book.
I think he actually has a lot on his website too.
Yeah, you may not even have to buy the book. Yeah, and actually, he sends out recipes. If you get on his email list, they're fun.
They are fun.
We don't get a chance to use a whole lot of them, but I have fun just checking them out because very, very creative, fun recipes from very exotic to very practical.
Yeah.
So
we'll try and put that link in the description too, so you guys can check him out.
Great resource. Okay, so moving on here, Sarah Vander Westhuizen. I hope I got that right, Sarah. How are you? On 20-minute meals.
Okay.
What are your family's favorite pizza toppings?
Ooh, some of the kids just like pepperoni. Some of the kids are just kind of plain pepperoni people. But we really like supreme pizzas, so we go with...
Oh, especially when we've got a lot, our own onions and bell peppers.
Lots
I
of
like
garlic.
it spicy. I like hot peppers, lots of garlic. Yeah.
Bell peppers, mushrooms.
Mushrooms occasionally, and
black
I love it.
olives if we have them.
Yeah, and... love it if we've got our own sausage put on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I have found that we really like is dehydrating our hot peppers in the summer just in slices. So I'll take jalapenos and I'll just slice them up nice and thin and dehydrate them that way. It is a great thing to have on pizzas. Another thing I generally like to have on hand are my cubes of basil that I blend up. So I take my basil in the summer when it's really fresh. I think I have a video out on this. And I blend it with olive oil and I freeze it in an ice cube tray. And then I pop those out and store them in a bag in the freezer.
Yeah.
And those just add that bright, fresh basil flavor to things like pizzas in the winter. So we really like having that on hand.
Really do it. Pizza's a fun way, homemade. We make it from scratch. The dough, sometimes the sauce, usually the cheese, and as many ingredients as we can grow ourselves. And it's fun sometimes to have everybody do their own pizza. And you can kind of see what people really like. and get creative and play around. That makes a fun dinner. Okay, White Alliance on how to choose a cast iron skillet. How do you care for your wooden utensils?
Ooh, not well enough. If you look at them, a lot
I wasn't
of
gonna say
mine
that.
are like cracked or broken. It's because I don't really take good care of them. I really need to make some more of the wood spoon butter, which is beeswax based oil. It's kind of almost like a salve, but it's meant for caring for wood things. So then you can get it cleaned up. It's a little, I think it lasts a little longer than oiling your spoons because it has the protective layer.
Yeah, it's a little more environmentally friendly than your mineral oil, which is a petroleum base, which is your standard wood care oil that you can get for butcher block and wood utensils. So, so that salve is great. That's something we should maybe put out there sometime.
Yeah, we should do that. I should actually just use it myself too.
Let's see. Can you address this one here?
Let's see. Yes, I can. Okay.
Tiffany Martin on one of the last Pantry Chat Q&As. Can purple nettle be used like stinging nettle?
Now, Tiffany, of course, purple nettle is a colloquial term or a familiar term, so we don't know exactly what plant you're talking about for sure. I'm assuming that you're probably talking about a red or a purple dead nettle, which is actually an entirely different plant than a stinging nettle. So no, you would not use them the same way.
Okay.
If you want to get more specific on that, send Latin names and we can help you out.
Righty. Okay, Karen Joy, also asking from the last Pantry Chat Q&A. What are your thoughts on freeze dryers for putting up food?
They're a great way to put up food.
Absolutely. Now, we can't speak from experience. We have not invested in one yet, primarily because they've been so expensive.
They're expensive.
They are coming down in price. The other expense to them is they are high energy users. And so that's another expense to preserving food. We're always looking for ways to preserve our food with less energy. That being said, a freeze dryer you can just create some wonderful long-term storage foods and meals with that. And so I think it's, as a preservation method, I think it's an excellent one.
Yeah,
it's just getting over the cost and dealing with the cost of the unit and the cost of using it.
Well, and another challenge is the actual units, the actual food space in the unit is fairly small, so even if you get a large machine.
Right, so for us, that's a challenge.
It really is, because there's only so much you can do at a time. So you're paying a large upfront cost, you're paying a large usage cost for it, and you're actually not getting that much out. It's not like a large food dehydrator.
Right.
So it has its downsides. On the other hand, the finished preserved food is great, and it lasts for a really long time on the shelf.
We would love to add that eventually as the cost comes down and we find a space for it, especially for outings, backpack trips, hiking, and some emergency storage, long-term emergency storage. It definitely has its place.
Right.
Okay, let's see.
I just want to try freeze drying those ice cream sandwiches like you see in the freeze dryer commercials, because that just looks cool.
Right. Let's see. Okay. Another one. Boy, we've got a lot of them from the last Q&A. That's kind of funny.
Okay.
And this is going to be for you mostly, Carolyn. Let's see, Mary Coffin on the last Pantry Chat Q&A. My big question is, how do you get your family to buy in to your herbal journey?
Mary.
How did you get me to come along? How do you get the kids to come along?
You were actually pretty easy, and you just kind of came along, which was really nice. That's been really helpful.
That right there helps with the kids because mom and dad are on the same page.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
I've just had a background enough that I appreciate moving towards more natural healing protocols and growing our own whatever we can grow and being self-sufficient.
And that has given me a lot of encouragement to keep on with it. So it's really challenging if you're kind of alone and you're the one who's having to make the move forward on something and you don't have people behind you. But I do have a few tips.
And so guys, if you're watching this, support your ladies, support your wives. It's a good move to be building your medicine and your herbs at home. It's building sustainability. It's building self-sufficiency. So I just really want to encourage you men out there to support a lot of these things. And I had my troubles when Carolyn was trying out making bread for the first time and different things and cookies with no sugar in them. And it was tough to be supportive sometimes, but I can tell you being down the road and the benefits of that and having rolled with it, things that I now like that I maybe couldn't have imagined myself liking then, I love.
You've been very supportive.
And
Thank you, dear.
so support your wives, guys, in this journey. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So your tips. Sorry, I
So
just
my
wanted
tips.
to speak
No,
to the guys.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good one. One, make it taste good. There are ways to make herbal medicine taste good, and there's ways to make it taste really, really bad. So go with the ones that taste good. Try herbal syrups. Try things like that that maybe are sweeter and aren't super, super strong in their flavor. Another one is to just get it into the food. You'd be amazed at how much just getting people to eat something spicy can help with a lot of illnesses, right? Make a spicy salsa at home and put out tortilla chips and let them go crazy on it. And if they complain about the spice, say, oh, well, then don't eat it. And people will still generally jump in and eat it and get the effects of it. So that's really good. The next one is to start young with the kids. If you can, start when they're very young. You know, if they're taking little bits of herbal syrup regularly, they're going to get really good at just opening their mouths when you pull out a dropper or a spoon. And before long, you'll be able to kind of stick anything in there.
Yeah, there's a big difference starting with a grown man trying to convince him or a teenager,
Right.
versus starting with your little ones,
Yeah.
which is mostly what we did.
We did.
And that is an easier journey.
You know, and the last one is really educate people, especially if you have those older ones. Talk to them. Sprinkle, you know, articles out and about around the house about the dangers of pharmaceutical medicines. Different things like that can go a long way to people who are old enough to be contemplating how they want to handle their health.
Yeah, I think being passionate about what you're doing too, and positive, not like you have to, you know, do this. And we tend to, as parents, sometimes just say this is the way it is, deal with it. And there's truth to that, but there's positivity and enthusiasm goes a long way. And you've always been very, very good at that. You've gotten me to be a guinea pig for some things that are fairly crazy at times. But it's been your it's been your positivism and your enthusiasm in believing in what you're doing that's infectious.
Yeah,
it makes me want to try personally.
Well, that's good.
Even when I think it okay, you know. But that's how she knows so much of this stuff is she studies and she tries things. And
well, I appreciate that, and I'm sometimes amazed that you're still a guinea pig. You know, there was a joke that I heard one time about how Mama could give you the runs by noon and have you cured by dinner. Occasionally, I have fallen into that category as I'm learning. I think I might be past that by now.
I do think I may have been injured a time or two, and then healed.
And then healed. We always make you better.
That's right. Okay, so Jennifer Fisher. Commenting on preparing your garden for winter, do you ever need to add minerals to your soil? If so, what are good products to use? When it's time to add more compost next fall, will you pull back the mulch or just add the compost on top of the mulch? Thanks for making informative videos without too much fluff. You're welcome. We do try to make it just informative as we can. And yes, adding minerals can be an excellent idea, and I do recommend that. That's a big discussion within the organic gardening movement. A lot of people say no, you don't need to. I believe there is a strong argument for it. And the best place that I can point you is to what's called COF, Complete Organic Fertilizer. Just Google. I think we had a download for it with the recipe, but I'm not sure where that is. So I'm just going to tell you if you don't see a link below, I'll look for it to put it in there. Google Complete Organic Fertilizer by Steve Sullivan. He's the originator of the recipe. I've tweaked it to my own way over the years. I think he's even updated it lately in his newest book, but that is a very good broad scale. I mean, it's not addressing any mineral deficiency at large, but it's giving you good mineralization across the spectrum. And we've used it in dry sandy soil, we've used it in clay soil, we've used it in our sandy loamy soil here, and that can be an excellent thing to do. So I would definitely encourage you to dive into that. And that recipe will tell you all the things to use and how to make general. Now, if you think you've got some mineral issues specifically, you need to go get a soil test, which is always a good idea anyways. You should be getting your soil test. But if you want to dive in a little deeper, if you think you've got a specific problem, you need to get a soil test. You need to identify it so that you can then deal with those specific minerals if there's a giant deficiency. But the COF as a general approach to mineralizing your soil is fantastic. We've had just wonderful results with it over the years. The compost in the fall, some of our areas we will be pulling back the mulch for certain seeds that can't come up through the mulch. We'll need to pull it back, and then we plant densely. Other things we will be planting into the mulch. But when we come to compost, yes, I may have to move some of that mulch aside.
Okay.
Alrighty. Okay. Moving on here, Rick Mortist on top 5 canning mistakes, but it's not a canning question, okay?
Okay.
And that's Ricka, sorry, not Rick. Ricka Mortist. How much land is your garden on? Currently, the main garden, what we call the main crop, is a little over a 1/4 acre.
Okay.
And we've probably got another 1/8 of an acre between the cottage garden and areas, and that's going to grow over time. But it is a testament to how much you can do in a small space. I realize a 1/4 acre garden isn't small for some of you, but there's a lot of things that tell you got to have an acre to 5 acres for a family our size. We produce most of our food in a pretty small space.
Yeah, here we are the beginning of April, and we're still eating off of our homegrown vegetables from last year that's been preserved. So it can grow a lot of food.
Absolutely. Okay, let's keep rolling along here. Brittany Ortega on homemade dandelion root latte. Root latte. Can you drink this while pregnant?
Okay, check with your midwife. I'm not going to answer that besides to say that I do drink it when I'm pregnant, but check with your midwife.
Okay.
Or doctor. You might not have a midwife. You might have a doctor.
That's right.
Check with your doctor.
Yes. Always. Jim Dent on water glassing eggs. Do the eggs boil and fry well after they have been preserved for several months, or are they best used for baking?
Jim, they do both boil and fry well, although some people have problems if they have been in the lime water for very long, with the shells being too fragile to boil well. If you check out, we have a video out on the 8-month update on the eggs, and I actually fry an egg there for you so you can see what that looks like.
We'll get the link into the video.
So as long as the yolks are holding together well, which is just a sign of aging. So putting them in lime slows down the aging drastically in the lime water solution. So as long as those yolks are holding together well, then they're going to fry really well. If the yolks start getting runny because they are just getting that long stored, if they've been stored 8 to 12 months right in there, or if you have them in a warmer temperature area, then those yolks will start getting runny, and then those are best to go ahead and do something like scrambled eggs or baked goods with them at that point. But for the first long while, you definitely have quite a few months where they're good to boil or to fry.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, Lori Miller on Grow Your Best Garden Ever is asking, my husband wants to put 10-10-10 on my garden and thinks it is okay. And I say, no, 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 no. What do you say? Okay, well, first of all, what is 10-10-10, okay? That is a fertilizer. And if you guys know regular synthetic fertilizers, a lot of them come in some version of balancing out nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Okay. 10-10-10 is just a general kind of all-purpose fertilizer with even amounts of each. And so, first of all, I say no to synthetic fertilizer, period.
Right.
We don't use it. And we use the complete organic fertilizer that we were just recommending, along with composting and building healthy soil biology. From there, if you're going to use a fertilizer like this, you really need to have a soil test and find out what your deficiencies are and what you need. That might be great depending on what you're growing. It might not. You may need some other recipes. So I don't really think you can determine that without a soil test. But you know what? Just check out Complete Organic Fertilizer, learn about composting and mulching, and you can do a lot for your garden without getting into the synthetics.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, let's see here. Moving on. These are some long ones we might have to go past. Let's see.
So there's a tip for you. If you want your question answered, make it really short so we can grab it real fast when we're scrolling.
Yes. How about this one on the cottage garden here? Jessica Bracewell on Grow Your Best Garden Ever. Do you companion plant with flowers and herbs in your vegetable garden? And yes, we do some of that in the vegetable garden, absolutely. And Carolyn, how did you figure out how to design your cottage kitchen garden? Where to plant what?
You know what? I actually have a video out on that. I have a whole video on how I designed the kitchen garden. So if you go back and look at that, then that'll be really helpful. You know, our cottage garden is all kind of in one space. There is not a whole lot of difference in either the soil type. There's a little bit of difference in how much shade things get because it's up against the house. But it's all kind of same protected from the house. It's all facing the same direction. So The approach that I took actually had more to do with the heights and the uses of the plants. So as I was closer to the kitchen, I put a lot more of our culinary herbs, and I tried to keep the low things against the pathways and have them get taller on the edges. And that helps with both the harvesting, so that you can kind of lean over and harvest tall things, but it also helps with, I don't know about you guys, but if I can't see it, I forget about it. I've got to be able to see it, and I've got to be able to be reminded of it all the time. So it helps just so you can see everything that is in your garden, you know what's there, and you know, you can at a quick glance take stock of what needs to be harvested, what needs to be weeded, what needs to be cut back, or, when you get into having a bunch of perennials in the same spot, after they're developed, you kind of end up you kind of play kindergarten cop, right? It's more a matter of trying to get them not to take over each other's space and to share nicely all in the garden. So it's really helpful to be able to see that and know what's getting too big, needs to be cut back, and what needs to be given a little more space. So
well, and it's going to be an evolution too.
Yeah.
It's a new garden and a new space, and things are going to change over time. And what Carolyn's not telling you is that she is also a certified permaculture designer, and just would encourage any of you to get familiar with permaculture thinking. There is just so much skill and thought that goes into planning and thinking about these things, and a permaculture mindset is very, very helpful. To that, to creating those spaces and working with those plants, and just that journey, because it really is a journey. Even in the garden, it's a journey of things growing and adjustment and learning as you go.
It really is, yeah. So I don't think I will ever be done designing the cottage garden. I think it'll be forever moving forward.
Well, and that's part of the fun. I was just saying that to somebody else about how we got where we are, and I this is a journey. It's not really about arriving. Yes, we're trying to accomplish things, but it's really a journey, and when we see it as that frees us up, in certain ways to roll with, because things are changing, and especially in biological systems.
Yeah.
There's always change happening.
Always something different. Yeah, good. Okay.
All right, Shelley Moorer on long-term food storage hacks. It's been a while since we did that video. Love your channel. What do you advise as this coronavirus is hitting the world?
Oh, yeah.
That's a big question, but we do have a few thoughts. And first of all, this situation is changing so fast. I think everybody has to be careful about commenting on what to do, what's going to happen.
Right.
We don't know. There's a lot happening fast, and we need to be observing, and we need to be not panicking.
Right.
And yet still acting in wisdom.
Right.
And so I think the simple answer is we'd encourage you to do what we're always encouraging you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Focus on growing your food. Focus on storing food, building up your supplies, and, focus on being a little more home-centered. I think that's right now. You have to focus on...
A lot of you are not getting
this
is normal to us, but it's not normal for a lot of people, and so you're finding your way through that, and this is a good time. It's got our attention.
Right.
All of us, even us who are feeling pretty secure and pretty well prepared, are looking at all our systems going, oh yeah, we're a little short there, we need to think about that. And so just really want to encourage you to do the same thing. It's not a time to panic.
No.
It may be a time to start new things, to start a new journey of growing a garden or buying in bulk. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not a hoarder if you are taking steps to take care of your family. Don't go out and just fear buy again, like we said earlier.
Right.
But yeah, taking steps towards long-term food storage, this is a great time to be thinking about that and coming up with a plan. It's a great time to be diving into gardening, coming up with a plan and thinking about, what you're going to do in the future. But don't do it just because, oh my goodness, I got to grow a garden this year.
Right.
And you're going to get past all the news and all the anxiety and you're going to put it down.
Yeah.
No, think about lifestyle changes, what are appropriate for you, and what steps you can take to be, creating greater self-sufficiency for yourself, for your family, for your community.
Absolutely.
And, sorry.
Well, I was thinking, one of the things that you could really do right now, if you're looking for what can I do right now, is to think ahead of having your household prepared for what if you did get sick and it's a mild case that you can shelter in home with. Because that's not the moment that you're going to run out to the grocery store and say, oh, I just really need to go get some chicken broth. Think ahead for the things that you would want to have on hand. that you might need to have on hand, and go ahead and get those things in place so that you can either take care of yourself, take care of a family member, or maybe it's even your neighbor who gets ill, and at least you can deliver them food, wipe it down and sanitize it as you deliver it. But, you'd be able to help out somebody else. So it's a great thing to do right now in this circumstance.
And, follow the authorities in what you're being told to do in your area. There's a lot of opinions out there about this and how valid it is, how bad it is, how not it is, what the government's doing, what the government's not doing. But the reality is we need to be respectful of the authorities that are in place. We need to be respectful of our neighbors, the social distancing. And so whatever your view is, be respectful of each other, follow the law, and try to stay positive.
Yeah, I think looking back at some of the lessons that our grandparents or great-grandparents learned during the Great Depression about becoming a little more home-centered and finding joy in the everyday things. When was the last time you sang together as a family? When was the last time you sat around the table and lit candles and told stories about a time that you remember just for the fun of it, so you could all laugh together.
Or played games, and I mean board games. Nobody has to tell any of us to get on the device. We're good at that. Take some time to put some of that away, and since we're being put into these spaces, come closer together.
Yeah. Have an electricity-free night. Shut it all off, light the candles, and enjoy sitting around and reading stories together. Those things are not only going to create positive memories, especially for your children in this time, but they're going to bring you a lot of relaxation and joy of being together and doing something that's a little different. Shake it up, get off the news, and just take that lesson of finding joy where you can in a hard time.
Well, hey, take that idea too of making a game, and say you're wanting to build, areas of preparedness in your life. This is motivating you. Take that time to look at doing that for 24 hours and going off grid in your own home, and that will really show you what things you might need to be focusing on right now. And you can make that a fun experience, that you come out with a plan maybe that, wow, we need to, have more batteries on storage, or we need to have more water, so, whatever it is. But that can be, a fun bonding time, yet that helps you in your plan for getting more prepared for the future.
Absolutely. Dust off those Laura Ingalls Wilder books and get them out and read them together as a family while you shut the power off for a while.
There you go. I like it.
Do something enjoyable.
Yep.
So.
Well, hey, we're going to wrap it up with that. I think next week on the Pantry Chat, we are talking about
top medicinal herbs to grow this year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that'll be really
good topic, and I know a lot of you were thinking about that.
Yeah.
So stay well, be good to each other, stay positive, and we will see you guys soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.